We were involved right from the outset as one of the pilot authorities for neighbourhood planning, and we met with DCLG, we met with the ministers, and although neighbourhood planning itself is just another word for community engagement, something that in Birmingham we've been doing since the 1970s, 1980s with the urban renewal programme. The thought of giving away the responsibility for spatial plan preparation to the people who live in the area sounded a bit radical. It wasn't in Birmingham, but I'm sure that a lot of other authorities would have felt this was a major departure from the way they normally do things. But we've always had the attitude that the people who know best about the area are the people who live in the area. And if we can help them to put a spatial dimension to their community, social aspirations, then that's got to be the way forward. I think neighbourhood planning, in the eyes of the government, was to apply unilaterally across England. It works far better in rural areas where there are parish councils leading the process, partly because you've got a democratic body already elected that can take control and can sort of take control of the process. Rural communities are far better defined than urban communities. Most of the neighbourhood plans in the shires are based on parish boundaries. So you might have 2 or 3 settlements within a parish boundary, but there is an identity. In Borsall Heath, when we split a ward in two, effectively, along community boundaries, but within that community, when we actually assessed it, people identified with 5 different neighbourhoods within the neighbourhood plan area. Now, there is a general consensus of what should happen, but in individual areas there are completely different views, and there was a bit of a turf war right at the outset when the area was being designated. There was a logical spur that went down one of the major roads, because it was an economic area, it reflected the sort of needs and requirements of local people, but it was in a different neighbourhood area, and that led to some quite considerable discussions, and it was resolved eventually by a line being drawn and a line down the middle of a road. Community boundaries are always difficult. In Borsall Heath, there has been years of community activity and years of consultation, to the point where people are saying, just get on with it, don't consult with us anymore, just do it, we want to see real change. In areas that haven't had that community level of involvement, the learning curve will be more gradual, but you do need to take the community with you, otherwise the referendums are going to be fairly meaningless. People will vote for their plan because it is their plan, but the number of people who've read the plan before they vote, community groups themselves will have very able, very capable people within them, not necessarily planners, but people who've got a grasp for and a skill for producing written documents. Others are very good at doing consultation, and it's if the community groups function well, it will be because they have got the skills from the variety of people within the 21 or however many people in the neighbourhood forum or within the parish council. What we did find in Borsall Heath and in Moseley, given the length of time you've had in consultation in Borsall Heath and the demographic in Moseley, actual policy writing was very difficult. They knew what they wanted to say, but because these documents have to be set in the context of national and local planning policy, you can't say certain things. So you have to bear in mind that this will be read and interpreted both by landowners, land developers, and solicitors and QCs. If you don't have short-term, medium and long-term elements to the plan to say how the houses are going to be delivered, how the railway line or the railway station will be developed, or where it could be developed, then the plan is fairly meaningless. And when you come to review the plan in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time, because the life of them it's 15, 20 years, you're able to sort of reflect on, you wanted this was the justification for it, we said this in the plan, this is what we've delivered. And then people can see that the whole process was actually worth the long-term involvement and the agony and the grief and the arguments and the late nights. It does need to be speeded up. I don't agree that it should be speeded up legislatively, where the government insists, oh, this needs to be determined in X, this needs to be sorted by that. But the whole process does need, it needs a level of urgency. There's two reasons. One, the people who are involved in writing the plan, the 21 members of the Neighbourhood Forum, will dwindle very quickly. And the community, who you're actually looking to consult with, the attention span is limited. Weren't we talking about this 18 months ago? What have you done in 18 months? Well, we've been following the process. No, and the money that the government has identified through locality, it is small beer. When you Joe Holyoke, when we first started to do Borsall Heath, I said, so let me get this straight in my own mind. You're expecting the community to produce what you or consultants would produce for no money. I said, well, that's not what we want to do, Joe, that's what the government want to do. He says, well, that seems very iniquitous.